Reynaldo López does it again with another great start, this time against the Houston Astros. We'll discuss that, and also we'll take a trip around the league where some Braves are creeping up the leaderboards, but maybe not the names you were expecting to see. We'll discuss all of that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back. I'm Braves, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and it's part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop of All. Also, you make sure you check out the podcast at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. And if you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comment section below. Love to hear from you and let me know who all is listening to the podcast each and every day, as we're posting 5 days a week, and we are in full season mode here as the regular season has kicked off for the Atlanta Braves. Thank you so much for your support here of the podcast. Got a lot to talk about today. It's a quick turnaround. Got a day game on Wednesday, but hopefully you stick with me here because I got a lot I really want to take out and dissect from Tuesday's game. We'll also take a trip around the league where we're starting to see some Braves players creep up the leaderboards, and then I'll get you set for that Wednesday afternoon game. Before we do all of that, though, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And what better place to start this podcast than with Reynaldo López, who has been the Braves' best starter by far to begin the season. And I don't think many people would have expected that coming into spring training, even when he was signed. And many people, including myself, said he's destined for the bullpen. That's where he's going to be more effective. Sometimes I'm wrong, and I'm willing to admit that. I'm still a little skeptical of López and how this two-pitch mix is going to handle or hold up throughout the year. But right now, he looks really, really good, and he's able to keep hitters off balance enough with those pitches that are two really good pitches. The slider specifically I thought was great on Tuesday night, but it was 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, no earned runs, 7 strikeouts, and 94 pitches. This is now 3 straight games to start the year of him going at least 6 innings, or he's gone 6 innings in all of them, and give up 1 earned or less, and he's given up less than 1 earned run in 2 of those. So 2 outings now, back-to-back outings, he's gone 6 innings and not allowed a single run. He can't keep this up. It would be historic if he could, but what a start for the Atlanta Braves. What a start in his move back to the rotation from the bullpen. And look, he's not throwing 98, 99, 100, but he's still been really effective with primarily a 2-pitch mix of that fastball slider. He only allowed 4 hard hits in this game. Aaron Bummer allowed that in 2/3 of an inning pitched on Tuesday night. 87.5 mile per hour average exit velocity again. So again, didn't give up a lot of hard contact. 14 whiffs on 45 swings. That's a 31% whiff rate. Anything over 30 is really good. 8 whiffs on 16 swings against that slider, which, like I said, was just devastating, especially for right-handed hitters on Tuesday night. You saw some really bad swings chasing that slider off the plate away. He had a 36% called strike plus whiff rate on that slider. Again, really, really good. You'd like to see something in the 30s there. Average 95.5 miles per hour on the 4-seam fastball and maxed out at 97.5. And this is something we discussed, something I talked a lot about in spring training. How does the velocity carry over from bullpen to starter? I understand he's not going to be able to throw 100 out there, although he can do it. We know he can do it. But when he's trying to be a starter, trying to save some gas for later in the game, that's obviously going to pull back a little bit. But can he maintain whatever velocity he does have deep into starts? And he was hitting 95 in the final inning there and down the stretch. So he has done a great job of that, being able to maintain that velocity throughout, even if it's not that high 90s velocity. 95, 96 will certainly get it done. And he was averaging almost 96 in this start. So that is great to see for Reynaldo López. He did throw 5 curves and 5 changeups. I thought he threw a couple of pretty good changeups. He located it well down in the zone, did get 1 swing and miss on the changeup. The curveball didn't look like a great pitch to me. He left it up. He got some called strikes on it, but it was more kind of like Darius Vines on Monday night throwing that changeup at the top of the zone. I don't think that's where he wanted it to go, but kind of caught the hitters off guard. If you could do that every time, then maybe that's an effective pitch for you, but that's not generally where you want to live with the changeup or a curveball up in the zone. So he got away with a couple of those, but I did think the changeup looked okay. So if you're, in my mind, looking at another pitch, a third pitch for him, I think it would be that changeup right now. Probably looks like the best of that third pitch for him in his arsenal. Now, moving to the bullpen a little bit, Tyler Matzik came in. He was averaging 94.6 miles per hour on the fastball. He maxed out at 95.5. That's encouraging for him as well. We've talked about it, and I know we discussed it on the postcast as well. You could see that velocity begin to tick back up as he gets further and further removed from surgery, and as he gets, knocks a little bit more of that rust off. If he could get back to averaging 95, 96 on that fastball, along with a good slider, there's a chance we get old Matzik back. Now, he's still been effective. He's been good with what he has. I think a lot of that has to do with the command that he's been able to have coming back from surgery. But if you're looking for the old Tyler Matzik, let's see if that velocity on the fastball continues to tick back up and if he can still maintain the command of that pitch. You had the rest of the bullpen. Joe Jimenez looked really sharp. Aaron Bummer, as I mentioned, gave up 4 hard-hit balls. He had been really good in his previous outings. I don't know if this is a situation where the game suddenly became a bit of a blowout, and then they set Iglesias down, told Bummer to go out there and get the last 3 outs. Wasn't able to do it, and you did have to use Iglesias for a batter. You hate for that to happen, but either way, he comes in and gets it done. He was pretty much already hot. He got hot yesterday in Monday's game as well, so might as well just go ahead and use him. Hopefully, he'll still be available on Wednesday if needed. Bottom of the lineup had a really good game. Marcia got the home run to get things started. He also had a sac fly later in the game to make it a 2-0 game. He had a bloop hit in the 9th, but the bottom of the order had all 6 RBI, 6 through 7 spots in the order, had all 6 runs batted in this game, scored 4 of the runs, and had 7 hits in this ball game. We talk all the time about the depth of this lineup, and Tuesday night was just the perfect example of that. Guys at the top got on base. They contributed. They had some moments too, but when you have a 6 through 9 like that can just carry you in a game where maybe your guys at the top just don't have it that night, that's what makes this lineup so special. And it's not just like it was one guy down there getting it done. It was all of them. Kelnick had a couple of hits. Tromp had some hits in there to get the rally started in the 9th inning. It's just, again, it's the depth of this order and what it can do to you 1 through 9. And that 9th inning, once again, 4 more runs in the 9th inning to put the game away. Everyone in the lineup ended up with a hit except for Matt Olson, who walked twice in the game. Everyone had a hard hit except Luis Guillorme, and only 5 strikeouts. It's another game. It's really back-to-back games where you look at it and you're watching and you're thinking, what is going on with this offense? Why are they not getting it done? Why are they not scoring more runs? And then you look at the line at the end of it, and hey, they scored 6 runs again. They had double-digit hits again. Almost everybody in the lineup had a hit again. Almost everybody had a hard hit ball. And that's just what this lineup does. But I like seeing just the 5 strikeouts in this one. They kind of had struggled with that a little bit over the weekend and on Monday night. So much better job by the offense. Again, would love to see them score early, score often. But if they just want to wait till the 9th inning and score a bunch of runs every time, that's okay too. I want to get to a lot more from this game. I want to dive into some specifics. I want to talk about some defense. I want to talk about Jared Kelnick, a potential hole in his swing that the Astros found on Tuesday night, a little bit of a scare for Acuna, and some close calls that went the Braves' way. We'll discuss all of that here next. Spring training is over, and the baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss out on your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less. Add them to your PrizePick entry today. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball to basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick an entry that has LeBron, Ohtani, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham, all in the same entry. PrizePicks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, and PrizePicks is really simple to play. I can make all my picks and submit them in less than 60 seconds. It is truly that easy on PrizePicks. You just pick a group or 2 to 6 players, pick stats more or less like hits, RBIs. You want to get in on the NBA action happening on Wednesday night. They have Trae Young at 22.5 points. You think he'll have more or less than that? You can go check all that out over on PrizePicks right now. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Game Time. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime, the scoreboard not looking so good. You're feeling a little bit low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you got to dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game. Let's pull off a bank heist and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right, the smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. Who doesn't want to do that? You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. It's Locked On's NFL Mock Draft live on April 17th at 7 Eastern, streaming on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel Zap. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on April 17th at 7 Eastern to hear who the local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL Mock Draft on April 17th at 7 Eastern, streaming live on Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. All right, tomorrow we will have our mailbag episode. We're going to do it on Thursday, and then on Friday, going to have a conversation with Bryce of Locked On Rangers, previewing this weekend's series against the defending World Series champions at home. So that should be a fun discussion there. I want to jump back into some takeaways from Tuesday's games, because there's a couple of things in there I want to point out as something to look for going forward. And the first thing is potential hole for Jarred Kelenic. Now, he had 2 hits in this game and had some good swings, and I think he adjusted to this hole on the fly in the game, but I did want to point it out because the Astros are a team that are obviously very familiar with Jarred Kelenic, being in the AL West, seeing him a lot as they faced the Mariners. And they were just pounding him low with changeups, just spamming changeups down below the zone. And he was swinging it over the top of a lot of them in this game. And you wonder if that is something that he is going to struggle with, if that is a potential hole in his swing. I mentioned he did get a couple of singles in this game, one of them in the 9th inning on a changeup that got left up a little bit, that he hit 99.1 miles per hour. So again, hopefully you're seeing him make that adjustment in that 9th inning. You saw him take a couple of changeups down as well. But that's just something to look for going forward with Jarred Kelenic, who I feel like we haven't seen him a lot lately. Faced a lot of lefties in that Marlins series. I feel like there just hasn't been a lot of Jarred Kelenic, but the number is still good. I believe he's batting 400 still. But that is just something I wanted to point out that I noticed in Tuesday's game, is a team that's obviously knows a lot about Jarred Kelenic. We're clearly attacking him with a certain pitch in a certain spot, and we're getting a lot of effect with 2 strikeouts in the game. I think both of them were on the changeup below the zone. He is still batting 400, by the way, but then he did make that adjustment in the 9th inning. He took a close changeup. They followed it up with a fastball that was supposed to be painted at the bottom of the zone. And if it was, it would have been a strikeout looking, because he was definitely sitting changeup there and was going to take no matter what. But then he did take a pretty close changeup in that at bat. And then, like I said, he got one that was left up a little bit and he drove it into right field. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from Jarred Kelenic, but I think early last week, you were seeing him getting pounded inside with pitches, and he was struggling with that. And now you're seeing potentially a little bit of a hole here with him swinging over the top of changeups down in the zone. So again, he's somebody I just have a keen eye on this year because I want to see him break out. I want to see him be that big hitter. But these are things he's going to have to continually adjust on as pitchers make adjustments to him. Also, some great defense. Austin Riley made a fantastic play. Now, he did make a little bit of an errant throw, but then Matt Olson saved him over at first base. And I want to point this out because Matt Olson's looked a little bit better defensively to me this year. It is a small sample size and not a lot to go on over there, but he's starting to look more like that Gold Glove first baseman we thought we were going to get. Talked about Austin Riley a lot. I don't think he's going to win a Gold Glove, but I think he's got a chance to at least be a finalist. He has been fantastic over there. RC has been good at shortstop. Ozzy's still a question mark at second, and now he's obviously out with the toe injury, but infield defense starting to look a little bit better, especially on the corners. You did have a little bit of a scare from Acuna on Tuesday night, had a fly ball that just happened to hit right on that surgically repaired knee. Like it could have hit anywhere, and it lands right on that knee. And anyone that wants to talk about how Acuna is always overly dramatic when he gets hurt, did you see how far that ball bounced away? I mean, that thing came down right on his knee, his surgically repaired knee. It's going to be a little bit of a bruise. Stayed in the game, was dancing after the win. Hopefully he is fine, but I got to imagine that hurt pretty bad there. Braves also had several calls go their way in this game. You love to see that because it feels like we haven't had much of that this year. Lopez was taking advantage of some calls off the plate, especially inside to righties. RC's home run bounced off the yellow line. We still don't know where it went. Maybe it bounced off and still went over the wall in center field, but either way, that call went the Braves' way. Guillorme had a ball that just landed on the line there. If it was called foul, it probably would have been held up as foul in review, but it was called fair, and that was a big spot there in the ninth inning with the Braves adding on. So just some close calls on that one that goes the Braves' way. You'll love to see that happen. All right, let's take a quick trip around the league. I mentioned Ozzy Albies. He has a fractured great toe. It's not a big toe. It's a great toe. He's on the IL. David Fletcher up to replace him. Not sure when Ozzy will be back. He played through it the rest of the game after it happened, so that would make you think that he could be back pretty soon. They're not going to have surgery, but I would imagine it's going to be at least a couple of weeks and maybe max of 4 to 6 weeks, but hopefully not too long there for Ozzy. Hall of Fame manager of the Cardinals, Whitey Herzog, passed away. Yankees legendary broadcaster John Sterling stepping down after 35 years. Rangers called up top prospect Jack Leiter. He'll start on Thursday. And I want to ask you, let me know in the comments section, what do you think about baseball seekers in the outfield who bring a decoy baseball to throw back on the field? I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of throwing baseballs back on the field to begin with, but to bring a decoy baseball to the game in case you catch one so that you can throw that one back, that seems pretty lame in my opinion. But let me know what you think. But that was going around on social media this week. Michael Busch homered in 5 straight games for the Cubs. He's been off to a good start. Top prospect that was with the Dodgers. They traded him over to the Cubs as they just didn't have a spot for him. And he has gotten off to a hot start for the Cubbies with home run in 5 straight games, 6 overall for Michael Busch. I'm just checking to make sure he didn't hit another one after I fell asleep last night. And what was a wild game between the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. Touched on it when the news came out, but it's still just unbelievable to me that Ohtani's interpreter, Mizuhara, racked up $40 million in gambling debt. In total, he gambled nearly $500 million in both losings and winnings. He stole more than $16 million from Ohtani to help pay these debts. Just a crazy, crazy situation. I don't know that we've heard the last of it. It seems like we have for Ohtani. He's been exonerated from all this. That happened pretty quickly. But either way, just a wild story there. Jordan Montgomery dropped Scott Boras after the offseason that some of Scott Boras' clients had. He has taken some losses. Tyler O'Neill, I mentioned a scary collision with Rafael Devers where these two collided. O'Neill ended up having to have 8 stitches. And that's a rough break for Tyler O'Neill, who's off to a great start right now. He might be player of the month for April. He leads all of baseball with an OPS of 1209. Mookie Betts is behind him at 1190, and then Ozuna is third at 1144. Arcia actually has the second highest OPS on the Braves at 957. I tweeted this out, but Ozuna, Arcia, and Kelnick are the Braves' OPS leaders halfway through the month of April, just like we all thought would happen. Tyler O'Neill, Marcell Ozuna, and Mike Trout are all tied with 7 home runs. Betts is leading an average at 388, with Altuve dropping to 382. And then our old friend, William Contreras, he is third at 375. He's got off to a hot start. Look, I love Sean Murphy. I love the defense. Braves may regret that one a little bit. We'll see. I'm obviously very big on Sean Murphy. I think he can be the best catcher in the game. That's what I said coming into the year before the oblique injury. But William Contreras can certainly hit, and he's looked much better defensively over there in Milwaukee as well. Arcia and Ozuna are 7th and 8th in average at 368 and 364. And Acuna is tops in steals with 8, along with Lane Thomas and Bryce Terang. On the pitching side of things, Paul Blackburn, Cutter Crawford, Reynaldo Lopez, Ronel Blanco, and Brady Senior all still have an ERA under 1. Paul Blackburn hasn't given up a run yet. I know a lot of people are asking about possibly trading for Paul Blackburn. I get it. I understand it. He's not going to be that top of the rotation guy for you. That's just, don't buy too much into this scoreless streak to begin the season. I think he would be solid. I think it'd be a solid depth add to it, but I wouldn't place him over any of the top 3. Maybe I'd put him there with Charlie Morton the way he's pitching right now. But either way, he's off to a good start. Cutter Crawford's a guy that I do really like with the Red Sox. Don't know if they'd be willing to give him up, but a couple of guys or several guys there still having really good starts. Reed Detmers, he might be having a breakout season with the Angels. He has a 1.04 ERA, a 0.81 whip, and 26 strikeouts in 17 and a third innings. And then Jared Jones for the Pirates, a 3.13 ERA, a 0.78 whip, and 32 strikeouts in 23 innings. He has a league-leading K per 9 of 16. So he's doing some very Spencer Strider stuff at the moment, racking up strikeouts, but still the ERA maybe a little bit higher than you'd expect with those numbers because of the home runs. Taking a look at the standings right now, the Yankees are up just half a game on the Orioles as they've lost 3 in a row, while the Orioles have won 3 in a row. Every team in the AL East is at 500 or better. Guardians and Royals are atop the AL Central, and they have the 2 best run differentials in Major League Baseball at +38 and +39 respectively. Again, just like we all thought coming in would happen. Tigers are off to a good start as well at 10-7. They had a nice comeback win against the Rangers on Tuesday afternoon. Those same Rangers are leading the AL West with a record of 9-9. Nobody has a winning record in the AL West, which is supposed to be one of the best divisions in baseball, and I think will be. Angels lost a tough game on Tuesday to the Rays in 13 innings. Astros are in last place at 6-13 behind the Oakland A's. That might not last for long. Take a picture of that, bookmark it, because I think that's going to change pretty quickly. Braves maintain a 2-game lead over the Phillies as they are 6-4 in their last 10. The Phillies, being the Mets, have made a push. They're 7-3 in their last 10, same as the Braves. I mentioned the Phillies had a pretty easy schedule for the month of April, so don't be surprised if they overtake the Braves in the division, but the Braves have been able to maintain that lead so far. Brewers and Pirates are tied atop the NL Central, all teams within 2 games of each other and all teams at 500 or better, just like the AL East. And then the Dodgers had a little bit of a blip here recently. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're now just 1 game up on the Padres, and the Diamondbacks are 9-9. They had a wild game and a wild win over the Cubs on Tuesday. Went back and forth, did go into extra innings. Cubs scored a single run in the last 4 frames to walk that one off. Just a wild game there between the Diamondbacks and the Cubs. All right, that is your Around the League update for this week. Next, we'll get into Wednesday's matchup where Max Fried's trying to build up a great start in Miami. We'll discuss that here next. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. You go out there right now, look at the lines. The Hawks are +3 on the spread and +130 on the money line for Wednesday night's play-in game against the Bulls. I think it's a play-in game, whatever they call it. The Celtics are the favorite to win it all in the NBA at plus 165. The Dodgers are the favorites to win the World Series right now, according to FanDuel, at plus 350, with the Braves behind them at plus 500. You can see all of that over on FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, and make your first bet an automatic win. Also, make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's an afternoon affair on a Wednesday starting at 1:10 p.m. Eastern. Max Fried versus JP France. I'm sorry, that's 2:10 Eastern, 1:10 my time, and the best time, Central. But it's Max Fried versus JP France. Braves are going for a sweep of the Houston Astros, trying to repay the favor for what the Astros did in Atlanta last year. Biggest question for me in this game, can Max Fried follow up on that great outing in Miami? I mentioned talking about that outing. Yeah, there was definitely some improvement from Max Fried. I'm curious if it was more the result of just a bad lineup, or was it him really pitching well and keeping hitters off balance and getting all that weak contact? Can he continue that against a much better lineup in the Astros, but a lineup that has struggled here a bit recently? They're obviously off to a slow start, and they've struggled in this series. You know they're going to break out at some point. Hopefully it's not on Wednesday afternoon against Max Fried, though, and he can continue the great trend that we saw from him last Friday against the Marlins. Braves are facing another Astros pitcher that's coming off a bad start. The first two, and Arrighetti and Hunter Brown, were able to kind of turn things around and have good starts. I know Arrighetti got optioned after the game, but he looked really good, really good in that one. And then Hunter Brown looked good on Tuesday night as well. Hopefully that's not the case for JP France, as he gave up 8 earned in 4 innings, his last time out on 8 hits in 4 walks. Now, in his other 2 starts, he's been pretty solid. He's given up 3 earned over 5 2/3 innings in each of his other 2 starts. It's a fastball, cutter, changeup, curveball for JP France. He'll try to put lefties away with that changeup and curveball, so keep an eye on that. We talked about Jared Kelenic and them attacking him with that changeup. JP France will likely try to do the same against him and other lefties in the Braves lineup, like Michael Harris, like Matt Olson. But hopefully the Braves can take advantage here, get a big lead early in this one, give Max Fried some room to breathe a little bit, let him get back under control. And like I said, hopefully get in some sort of a rhythm here, like we know Max Fried can pitch, and be that guy and get the sweep, hopefully, for the Atlanta Braves in Houston before they get the off day and then come back home to face the Rangers over the weekend. Want to remind you again that Locked On's launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on the Amazon Fire TV app and the Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day. Tomorrow we'll have our mailbag podcast. Look for a tweet from LockedOn_Braves asking for those questions. Submit your questions there to be answered on Thursday's mailbag episode. And then on Friday, I'll have my conversation with Bryce from Locked On Rangers, previewing that big series over the weekend in Atlanta against the defending World Series champ. But that will do it for this episode of the Locked On Braves. Thanks so much for joining me. Thanks so much for making it here till the end. Again, if you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're over 10,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. Hit that thumbs up button if you would as well. Follow us on social media at shortstopball, at LockedOn_Braves. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.